Welcome to all for Transform'21 event. I am Sanjeev Deshpande, MD and CEO for NTT Data Business Solutions, formerly known as Intelligence. We are part of NTT Data, which is the sixth largest IT services company in the world, with over 130,000 employees serving customers across all different technologies. NTT Data Business Solutions, we spearhead the SAP solution portfolio within our group and has been the flagship company for the group for past 10 years. Our history is more than 30 years. We have been serving customers across the globe in many different industries, primarily pharma, CPG, manufacturing, wholesale, and many others. So today I'm here to talk about how we, along with our partner SAP, can help you transform yourself, your companies, your organizations to the future that is awaiting all of us. It's exciting and challenging at the same time. Probably let's take a step back and look at what has happened in the last 2 years. I'll start with the COVID impact, which has happened early 2020. Companies that were completely doing their business functions physically were all of a sudden forced to go online. Companies had to adapt at a rapid pace to the reality that most of the people have now become remote. Customers are remote, employees are remote, partners are remote. Supply chains got disrupted. Customers started to order differently. Consumers started to consume differently. Supply chains started to operate in a very different model. How did companies were able to do in such a short span of time? How did they adapt the business models? The people with the resilience, the people who had ready technologies to employ and deploy for this change scenario were successful. And some companies did not. The phrase that goes, pivot or perish. The people who were able to pivot to the digital technologies were able to survive. And what type of technologies did they employ? They had a very solid business software to run their businesses remotely. That means they had a good ERP system. They also had systems of engagement that allowed their workforce to work remotely. They also had online order entry systems, front ends to take the orders from the customers. They also had means of interaction with their business partners to ensure uninterrupted supply chain. They also had good planning boards to execute the planning. But what actually it meant for most of the other companies, the companies that did not survive or rather suffered tremendous losses for the first few months or quarters during the COVID pandemic, then they had to urgently deploy a lot of these technologies that helped other companies succeed or survive and in some cases thrive. And where did those technologies to a large extent come from? It has come from partners like us, and also it has come from our partners like SAP. So digital has expedited, the digital journey of the customers got tremendously expedited due to COVID. One study says, it was done by a large analyst company, the digital expedition that companies were on got expedited by more than 7 years. It means what they would have otherwise accomplished in 7 years had to be accomplished over a 3 to 4 month period. So tremendous acceleration that has happened in the digital journey of the customers. That is the impact that the COVID had. But let's again probably come back to the topic that I began with. What is digital transformation to begin with? So for some companies, it meant having an online store. For some companies, it meant having an ERP system. For some companies, maybe it meant having a mechanism for them to communicate electronically with their vendors or partners. But that's about it. Or maybe for some, it meant that they need to take their IT infrastructure and put it on cloud. But is this all the digital transformation is? Going digital, employing digital technologies is the first step. A lot of companies also, out of curiosity for the new technologies that came along, the digital technologies, AI, ML, augmented reality, blockchain, predictive analytics. A lot of these companies were interested in understanding the potential of these technologies and see how they can help. They started to figure out which problem that is existing in their organization can be solved by deploying one of these technologies. They also wanted to experiment how we can employ these technologies, consume these technologies, and get better, get more efficient at what they are doing. But that is the past. Today, the digital transformation has to mean much more than that. This is not time to experiment. This is the time to implement. This is not a time to use the digital technology to solve the problem. This is to become digital. Your business model has to change. Companies have to look at the business strategies and see it from the perspective of what can go digital. How am I doing my production? How am I executing my supply chain? What is my product? Is my product itself, is it smart enough? How I am repairing the product once it is sent to the customer? What type of go-to-market I have? What type of revenue collection that I have? What type of intelligence that I have around my product and about my organization? So it is much more than that. So in today's world, digital transformation means digital first. Any new concept, anything new that you are discussing in your boardrooms, in your senior management leadership, the very first thought has to come is how can I do this in the digital world? If you are a native digital company, not a problem, because that's where you started. You are digital native. But if you are a brick and mortar company, who basically adopted the digital technology just to replicate your physical business model onto online or cloud, then you are not digital by any means, because you may have become more efficient. You probably have employed some automation, but in my mind, that is not digital. Digital means what new products you have deployed, what new customer segment that you have reached, what new production ways or supply chain processes that you have evolved within or with your partners, what new business model that you have developed using digital technologies, and how your functioning of the organization has changed using digital technologies. Talent anywhere is a concept that probably anybody would understand today. Probably would have been a foreign term completely, let's say, just 2 years ago. Before COVID, everybody was coming to the office. Today, talent anywhere is a common phrase. Physical work, the brick and mortar work, all has moved to online. Pen and paper has become digital. Machines presence has gone to control center presences. The reports have become dashboards. From that perspective, all of these can be accessed from wherever you are. So companies going to have become very physical and digital combined. Hybrid business model is working in many, many different industries. So digitalization means the overall business strategy has to be relooked at to see how I can transform my business to leverage these technologies, not only to become more efficient, but what new products, what new revenue streams I can take to the market, and how I can grow today and tomorrow. How do we do it though? Fundamentally, there are two aspects to this. First of all, we need to understand what is our digital journey so far? Where are we digitally? Because if you do not have the digital maturity, would you be able to think in terms of digital transformation? The first things to do is to get to the digital maturity. And how do we do it? If you do not have a footprint, digital footprint in the organization, what is digital footprint? Do you have a solid ERP core system? Rise with SAP is one of the offerings by SAP, which can probably help you make your digital transformation journey faster and smoother. Do you have anything like that? Do you have a hyperscaler on which your system is hosted? Do you have anything like SAP's business technology platform, which will allow you to innovate, develop custom applications to suit your unique requirements to continuously innovate? Do you have a product like, for example, success factors to enable and empower your talent and stay connected? Do you have anything like Hybris or C4C or Qualtrics, where you are creating a connected customer experience and also then able to measure the customer experience back so that you are getting better at what you're doing? Do you have anything like SRM, CRM that actually will talk to the customers, your vendors, your users, your who is using your systems? Do you have a way to interact with them digitally and collect the data digitally, so that you have all this data? And more importantly than all of these is also, what is your self-awareness of the organization in terms of your market presence, what your competitors are doing, and what is happening in your industry? Where is this data going to come from? It has to come from media, social media maybe, or market intelligent companies. Anything that may exist outside of your organization also becomes very, very useful for you to understand where you are. So for example, SAP, a tool like Signavio can give you that benchmarking information about your business processes and where you measure yourself against your competitors. So all of these deployment of all of these technologies will make you a lot more digitally mature, and usage of these technologies will open your eyes to see what else is possible. Very recently, one of the largest automotive companies in the country, I'll be happy to name MG Motors is our proud partner. We have implemented Intelligent Enterprise Suite at MG Motors. And that company has revolutionized the way go-to-market is happening in the country. Similarly, we have implemented SAP, a transformation journey for SAP S4HANA, for a very large municipal corporation in the country, probably the largest municipal corporation in the country, with more than 25,000 users, with more than few lakhs of citizen users who use their services day in, day out. An enterprise like that, they can afford to be on the digital journey while executing it so seamlessly with partnership of SAP and us. So such journey is possible when you are digitally mature, and we are here to help you first adopt those technologies and deploy those technologies. While you are digitizing yourself, innovation does not need to stop. Innovation is a parallel activity that needs to continue. I'm pretty sure all of you are doing innovation today within your business systems, within your organization. That needs to continue. That doesn't need to stop. But once you have deployed all of these digital technologies, your ability to innovate your business models is going to be much higher, because you have a lot of data that is coming from your own machines using IoT and big data. You have a lot of data coming from your customers. You have data coming from your vendors. You have data coming from your production, supply chain, your people. A lot of data points. You have data coming from your customers, again, in terms of both revenue and also customer satisfaction. All of these combined with the data that is coming from outside, social media and whatnot, will help you really understand how the business model is evolving in your industry and with your competitors. Then using these data, you will be able to, again, using products like SAP Analytics Cloud, predictive services, you will be able to do a lot of what-if analysis to understand how you should continuously innovate and what type of business model you need to adopt. You got to disrupt yourself before somebody else does. I again welcome you all to the event. Thank you very much for patiently listening to me, and to our partner SAP and other people who have made this event possible. Thank you all so much, and I wish you all the best day. Thank you all so much again.